It's official. Fall has arrived and oh, I'm so excited. I hope you guys are too. I'm glad you're here. Today, I'm going to teach you how to layer like a pro so you stay warm, cozy, and confident on all of your outdoor adventures. Let's get into it. Hi there, my name is Kalani and welcome to my channel Outside with Lonnie Shots. We got a good one for you today. If you are new to hiking, this is specifically for you. And if you're a veteran, hey, add in a few extra pointers in the comments below. I'm sure the newbies would love to gain some of your knowledge. In this video, we're gonna talk about the 3-point layer system, and then we'll also talk about how to know when to layer up or delayer. That first layer is what we call a base layer. This is the layer that is going to help you to stay dry when you are on trail. Normally you want something that is kind of close fitting to your body. I never get a tight fitting base layer. I always like mine a little loose, but that's just my preference. But if you do it how you're supposed to, it's technically supposed to be kind of more form fitting. So that way, when you sweat and your temperature rises, the moisture from you can be transferred to the fabric. Now, how are you gonna know if this is a good base layer? You wanna make sure the fabrics, they're normally like synthetic. So they're gonna say nylon, they'll say polyester. You never want to get anything that says cotton, okay? I don't know if you've heard the term cotton kills, but cotton is not moisture wicking. If you wear it on a hike and you start to sweat, your shirt is going to stay wet, and that could lead to some very bad things. We don't want you getting sick from like hypothermia out on the trail. So no cotton, go with things that say moisture wicking. Another fabric that you can use is wool. I'm sure you've heard the term like merino wool. I don't really use wool because it makes my skin itch. I remember this one time I got like this like sleep set for like when I'm camping, and it was made out of like a wool fabric, smart wool or something, I don't know. And I don't have it anymore because it made me itch. So for those of you that can handle the wool on your skin, that is also a good moisture wicking fabric. If not, just stick to the polyesters, the synthetics, you'll be good to go. Okay, that second layer is your mid layer. Now in the summer in Texas, I don't need this layer because it's hot, right? But as we move into fall, I definitely like to pack a mid layer. And if you are someone who lives in areas where there's significant elevation gain, then you definitely want to have a mid layer as well. What's a mid layer? Lots of times for a mid layer, I like to use a fleece top. Some people have, pullover fleece tops, zip up fleece tops. It really doesn't matter what kind you have. Get whatever you like. I still have the first one that I ever bought when I got into backpacking, and it is, I think it's like a Patagonia, like quarters zip. It doesn't have a hood, and it's been fine thus far. It's not ultra lightweight, but it's not heavy. It does the job. It keeps me so warm. So I continue to use it. As we get into the colder months, then I'll add another quote unquote mid layer, and that is my puffy. But just during the fall, for the most part, I only bring that mid layer, which is my fleece. If it's gonna get extra cold, I'll pack the puffy too. We had our base layer, which was that moisture wicking layer that wicks away the sweat from your body. So what is the mid layer for? The purpose of the mid layer is to help you to retain heat and keep you warm and insulated. Don't skip out on the mid layer, okay? That third layer is going to be your outer layer, and this is the layer that keeps you protected from the elements. And when we talk about elements, we're talking about the wind, the rain, the hail. Yeah, it happens. Snow, all of the things that Mother Nature can throw down on you. This layer is gonna help with that. So a term you might see is water resistant versus waterproof, okay? There's a difference. Now, a lot of times your layers that are windproof, they are water resistant, but they're not waterproof. So they will help a little bit if it rains or if it sprinkles, but if there's a downpour, it's not going to keep you dry. If you want to stay completely dry, you're going to go with the waterproof fabrics. Now, a lot of times the waterproof fabrics are also wind resistant, so you can get kind of a 2-for-1 in that. One thing to keep in mind with these outer layers, sometimes you can start to get hot while you have them on. Some of the more, I'm guessing, expensive brands have like pit zips and things like that. So if you start to get hot, but it's raining, you can just undo the zipper so that your heat can escape. I don't have one like that because I don't want to spend the money on that just yet. So if I get hot, I have to take off a mid layer or try to like slow down in order to keep me from overheating. And speaking of overheating, let's talk about when we want to add layers and when it's best to subtract the layers. Okay, so adding layers. It's really good to add layers when you're taking a break. A lot of times when you stop, your heat production drops drastically. So it's really good before you've gotten all still and comfortable on your break to go ahead and add a layer. So that way you can retain some of that warmth before it just leaves your body. Another example of when it's good to add a layer is when you start to get in higher elevations. So a lot of times the temperatures at the higher elevations is not the same as the temperatures at lower elevations. It's usually a lot cooler. So as you start to go higher, go ahead and add on a layer because it's gonna be a little chilly and we don't want you getting cold. So think smart, go ahead and add a layer. Also, if you end up getting into an area where there's wide open spaces, oh, I love it when the trees are gone and it's just a wide open space. It's like one of my favorite parts. Anyway, so if you get into an area like that, a lot of times the wind picks up. So that would be a great time to go ahead and add on that wind jacket or add another layer so that way you can block that cool air from hitting you and you can stay warm. Another indicator of when it's time to add a layer, if your body starts to shiver. If your body starts to shiver, that is your indication that you're getting too cold. You're losing too much heat. So if you are wet from sweat, it's a great idea to swap out that shirt, put on a dry shirt. Hopefully you have a moisture wicking base layer so you're not wet. But if you're still cold, add a layer so you can begin to trap in that heat and it can warm your body up. Last but not least, as the day starts to dwindle down, normally temperatures get colder. So just add a layer when the temperature starts to go down so that way you stay warm. Now let's talk about when it's time to take a layer off. It's a really good idea to remove a layer before you start to sweat. As soon as you feel yourself starting to get warm, or if you've gotten to the point where you can see steam coming off of your body, it's time to take a layer off. Now, if you do this before you start to get hot, this is great because it allows your base layer to stay dry and not end up getting soaked. Another time when you would want to go ahead and take off a layer is before you start going uphill. We all know it takes a lot more effort and we burn a lot more calories when we are hiking uphill. So if you already know you have a climb coming up, just go ahead and shed a layer. You might be a little cold at that moment, but once you start going up, trust me, your body's gonna heat right up. And like I said before, if your outer layer has pit zips or places where you can unzip to let out a little heat, do that. Okay, now you are a layering pro, right? Base layer, mid layer, outer layer. You know when to put layers on. You know when to take layers off. You want a few more tips? Okay, here's your 4 bonus tips. Number 1, start cold, not hot. I tell you how many times it's in the morning, it's super chilly, and it's cold, right? And I was a newbie, so here I am. I got my mid layer on, I got my puffy on. I'm like, whoa, all right, let's get started for the day. And then less than 5 minutes into the hike, I'm stopping to take my pack off and remove my puffy because I got hot, okay? So to avoid the disruption in your hiking day and avoid the disruption in your movement in the morning, just go ahead and start cold. I promise you, your body will heat up. And the more you do it, the more you kind of know at what temperatures you need to wear which garments. Hopefully that makes sense. Like I know, normally I don't have to put on my puffy until after it gets below 30 degrees. I can usually do pretty good with my other layers until at that point. At that point, I add the puffy. But I know this because I've hiked in all different types of weather, and I've started to learn when my body needs more heat. So start cold, do yourself a favor. Extra tip number 2, carry an extra layer, especially if you are backpacking. And I do this by bringing sleep clothes with me. So when I'm done hiking, you know, I have that wet shirt, my wet tights, I'm taking them off, I'm cleaning myself up, and I'm putting on that warm, maybe not so warm because it's cold outside, but that dry layer. It's just, I don't know, it's almost like a little morale boost to put on some fresh, dry clothes. So if you're backpacking, bring an extra layer that you can change into at night. Tip number 3, try not to hike in your puffy jacket. Now, am I gonna lie and say that I never hike in my puffy jacket? Because I don't lie, I tell the truth, okay? So, I do hike in my puffy jacket. I do know that there can be a risk with the down losing its insulation if it gets too wet. So if you have a synthetic jacket, you're okay to hike in the puffy. But if you're in down, you just have to be mindful of when it's time to take off that layer so that the feathers inside don't get wet. But yeah, try to see if you can manage your warmth without having to put that puffy on. And then you can just use it for those times when you take breaks. Last but not least, even if you're a newbie, no cotton, okay? We don't do cotton. We do moisture wicking fabrics, wool fabrics to keep that sweat away from our body, to keep us warm. Yay! Those are all my tips. Okay. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that if you are new, that you learned something new and that can take you into this fall season. And if you are not a newbie, please, like I said before, add some comments below and help the new people out. We want them to feel safe and confident while on trail so they can enjoy this beautiful earth that we live on. All right, guys, I'll see you back here next week for another video.